I think the best thing about living in a caravan is that now, without a mortgage tying us down, we can afford to take jobs that allow us to be more flexible with our time. This year, we took a whole month off our seasonal jobs to travel around South Africa. We'd been invited to a family wedding and thought, we're travelling all that way, we might as well make the most of it while we're there. After landing, we picked up our hire car, which, considering what we put it through that month, and that it was only a VW Polo, it did pretty well. Then we headed straight down to the beach to watch the beautiful sunset. The day after, it was time to put our glad rags on and celebrate the lovely wedding of Jamie's cousin Elsa and her husband Tom. The day was beautiful and filled with eating gorgeous food, spending time with family, and, because the wedding was on a wine vineyard, drinking lots of lovely wine. We managed to catch up with Jamie's close family, who were also going to join us on the next leg of our trip. A few days later, we set off on the first leg of our South African road trip. We headed inland and up towards Beaufort West. The roads got really nice and even the wildlife started to get more interesting. We were staying on an African olive farm and we were greeted not only by the friendly owners but also by this very inquisitive peacock. Feeding it biscuits was a mistake. It woke us up every day at 4 a.m. We left Beaufort West to head out once again across the African plains and towards our next destination of Bloemfontein. The roads were just incredible, stretching out miles ahead of us, and we only stopped to eat giant sandwiches at roadside services and also to get some video footage of these fantastic windmills, which were used to pump water onto the arid land. We saw them all across South Africa, and they were so peaceful to look at. We don't have any footage of where we stayed in Bloemfontein because we arrived after dark, so you'll just have to believe us that we really did stay there. It was on the next leg of our journey, as we headed towards the Drakensberg National Park, that the scenery started to get really stunning. As we wound along increasingly dusty roads, through rural villages, we really started to get the sense that we were in real Africa. We also started to sense that the clouds were mounting up quite a bit, and so when we got to our campsite, which was stunning by the way, we quickly put up the tent and prepared ourselves for the worst of the weather. Sure enough, it wasn't long before the heavens opened and we were in for a real soaking.
The mountains have gone.
But the show had to go on, and although night had fallen, by now Jamie's mum, dad and sister had also arrived with their trailer tent, so we were able to cook some dinner. There's nothing better than frying sausages, whatever the weather. We enjoyed a meal together and a couple of South African ciders before heading off to bed for a soggy night in the tent. Daybreak brought with it some fantastic sunny weather, so we decided to go for a walk around the mountains to explore the area a little bit. It was absolutely stunning. The highlight of the walk for us was definitely finding the Cascades, which was a beautiful little waterfall and plunge pool where we could swim and cool off to our heart's content. Eventually we climbed out, dried ourselves and walked back to the campsite, where we had to sign the hiking register to say we'd got back safely. It was such a lovely day. In the morning, we headed off, avoiding the livestock, and it wasn't long before we were back on tarmac roads. We headed towards Durban on the N2 and out towards the coast. Our next stop was Sodwana Bay, and I've got to be honest, we were a little underwhelmed by the campsite. It seemed a little bit like something that had been forgotten about, but we made the most of it, pitched up, and decided, despite the weather, to go to the beach.
Cold?
In true British style, we donned our swimming gear, lay on the sand, and tried our best to sunbathe. The weather was at least improving though. However, it didn't last long, and soon the thunder and lightning set in, just in time for our evening meal.
I am going well, Jim. That's what we like.
The weather was appalling, and it wasn't long before the rain set in again. It rained all night, in fact, all night, all day, and the next night. So in the end, we admitted defeat and booked ourselves into an Airbnb so that we could all dry off instead of camping again. The place we stayed was great and had this lovely outdoor area where we could all dry our gear. It was just what we needed.
Here we are. This is a prime spot for snorkeling. As you can see,
Beautifully calm.
we might die if we go in there today. It's pretty cold. It's about 22 degrees. It's pretty cold
It feels
around
cold
here.
in the wind.
The wind's blowing. It's raining. This is not a good day out.
But we do look incredibly British.
We do. Look at our outfits.
Everyone else has got their raincoats on.
Let's have a quick pan around. Oh yes.
It's gorgeous.
Nobody else is on the beach. The locals aren't here, which is a good sign. That's probably not a good day out. Anyway, we'll see what we get up to.
Being very British about it once again, we weren't going to let a little thing like weather get in the way of our fun.
So, Stacey, we've had a bit of a change of plan, haven't we? We're going to go for it. You look awesome today, by the way, in your bikini.
You look awesome in your British outfit. This is Jamie at peak Britain. Doing it for Britain right now in South Africa. As you can see, there's hundreds of people bathing in the calm waters. And we've flown a long way to be here today, so we're gonna do it.
Watch my feet for a bit. Ah!
It wasn't a complete waste of time. We had a swim about, and the water wasn't that cold at all, really. We even saw some fish. We've slowed down this footage so you can see them too, because they were seriously quick. However, once I'd been stung by a jellyfish, we decided to call it a day.
Yeah.
It's no worse than a bee sting.
No.
Like my arm. It's actually a hippo in our backyard.
We were pretty surprised by this, but actually it's quite normal. And St Lucia is in fact famous for their hippo population. They wander up out of the estuary regularly to graze on the lush grass in the apartment areas or simply to sunbathe in the flower beds. You have to be careful though, because hippos can be dangerous if you surprise them, so we made sure to keep our distance. From here, the wildlife kept getting better. On an estuary cruise, we saw massive crocodiles sleeping on the bank and, of course, more hippos. Later, we visited a crocodile sanctuary which had weaver birds, turtles and, well, crocodiles, obviously, including these baby ones. Later in the week, we went on a night safari drive and were lucky enough to see, among other things, zebras and a leopard, which was incredible. By now the weather had started getting better too, so we managed to get a cheeky day at the beach in before packing up our stuff and celebrating our final evening in St Lucia with a couple of cocktails. As we drove through the region formerly known as the Transkei, we really felt like we were seeing rural Africa again. The area was absolutely stunning, and what changes in the roads? We turned from tarmac to gravel in the blink of an eye and started winding our way towards the coast to our hostel accommodation for a few days. Now, I'm not going to say too much about the Lubanzi backpackers because we're going to do a separate video on this place. It was so awesome. All you need to know for now is that we had a wonderful time in this eco-hostel, which is all built by hand from reclaimed materials. Look out for the video if you want to know more.
Yeah, come check out where we're staying.
How cool is this? Ignore the mess. Comfiest bed in the world. Cool tent roof. We even have solar powered lighting in here so we can enjoy it right into the evening and just look at this view.
After a few lovely nights at the hostel, we got on our way, off the dirt roads and back along the garden route, past Port Elizabeth towards our next destination of Plettenberg Bay. It was a 10-hour drive, so we needed to stop for some sustenance at our favourite road trip fast food venue.
These are the best things. So this is one waffle that they've kindly split between two of us so that we don't get too chubby. Because we thought if we had one each today it might be a bit much, but look at that. Ice cream, chocolate, waffle. Fantastic.
Eventually we arrived at Plettenberg Bay, a lovely little seaside town with markets to wander around and of course the beach. We spent loads of time just pottering around as we had a whole week there.
So this particular area of South Africa is unique as it has the very rare bearded dolphin, which hopefully if you watch carefully you might actually just see. We have just seen one, so keep your eyes peeled guys, you might be looking. Oh, there it goes! Wow, look at that! How amazing to see one close up. Let's see if we can see it swimming underwater. How graceful.
Joking aside, we did spend a lot of time at the beach while we were in Plet, but we also got up to lots of other things too.
You done to your GoPro, Stace?
I've broken it.
Let's have a good look at that.
My footage is going to be amazing for the rest of the trip.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Stace.
Morning.
We are off on a little hike today. As you can see, as we come around this pair of bushes, in fact, if I do it that way around, you can see the sea. Oh wait.
Amazing filming.
It's always one, isn't it? Anyway, we're off to hike to a waterfall today, and it is a very special waterfall to us. I hiked there first about 20 odd years ago when I was about 10 years old. I then brought Stacey back here 2 years ago and she fell in love with the place.
Yep.
It's also our friend Taryn's favourite waterfall as well.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll take you for a little ride along there. So,
I'm going to say favourite waterfall so far because we've not seen them all yet.
Favourite waterfall so far. But if this is anything to go by, you can see how gorgeous the coastline is here. We should be in for a real treat. So anyway, enough for now. Let's get hiking.
We have been walking for about 45 minutes to an hour now and done about 3 kilometres, and we've arrived at what I consider to be the #1 thing to come and see if you are travelling through South Africa's garden route. Behind me you can see you've got the sea, and then if I turn you around, ignore all the tourists, you've got this stunning waterfall and a huge plunge pool underneath which we're going to go and cool off in right now.
Quick tip, if you're going to hike here and you're going to stop for a swim, this side where I'm sitting now is less populous than that side over there. You can probably see all the tourists over my shoulder. So it's worth just making the extra little trip round. It's not very far, about an extra minute of walking. From there, around the rocks, over the little cascade area, across the wooden bridge and then down to here. It's got more space and the bottom is sandy when you get out. So it's much easier. So this is Stacey going to dive in. It's pretty chilly today. Similar to UK water temperatures, I would estimate actually today.
This feels like
the River Tees.
The sea in the summer in the UK.
Yeah, I can believe it.
It's recorded. Something just so deep there and it's like a constant stream of pressure.
Anyway, stop putting it off. Let's go for it. Get your head under. 3, 2, 1. How's that feel?
Breathing. refreshing.
Is it still as awesome as it was 2 years ago?
Yeah, it's incredible. Definitely up there with my top 3 places in the world. Maybe even #1 so far.
#1.
We always like waterfalls though, we're kind of attracted to them. Yes.
Well, I reckon next time you come here, we'll carry on hiking that direction and do the whole lot of trail.
That sounds good. And then more waterfalls.
And more waterfalls, more swim spots, more river crossings. It's a great hike.
We had to pay quite a lot to enter the national park in tourist taxes, so while we were there we decided to make the most of it and visit the Storms River Suspension Bridge. It was absolutely beautiful.
We've just come across these down here. Look to be bone, I'm guessing it's whale.
Whale vertebrae maybe?
Yeah, it has to be, right? They're absolutely enormous.
And a tyre.
And a car tyre or something, but yeah, absolutely enormous. You get a lot of stuff washed up here. It's a real little trap for driftwood and all sorts of stuff. What do you think that is?
I don't know. Could be part of a whale.
Could be, couldn't it?
I don't know what though. I thought it was plastic, but it kind of doesn't feel like plastic.
No?
No, oh, I hadn't noticed that. No, I don't know.
If anybody knows what these are, or can tell us for certain, tell us in the comments. We'd be delighted to hear it.
As time got on, we followed these 2 terrified Chinese people back across the bridge, and Jamie found an old nemesis.
Where are you going, Jamie?
Just gonna go down this way. Oh no, I'm not. Whoa, whoa.
Ex-teachers, what can you do with them?
By now we'd reached the final day of our trip and we decided to spend it on a hike, starting from the Titsacama Lodge. The Striptease Trail was a really interesting walk, which followed this lovely river all the way up a valley and to lots of different pools with funny names telling you what you should do in each pool. Like this one.
Another beautiful pool here. We're not sure whether it's actually an official pool because some of the signs for the pools have been lost in the recent forest fire. So we think this might be called G-string pool. So as you see, the names are getting a bit ruder.
We'll spare you all the details because we're going to make another video just about this hike, but for now, it's safe to say we made the most of it. It was a wonderful end to our trip, and we spent a long time just chilling out in the pool before walking back, packing up our stuff and getting ready to go home.
So yeah, hope you've enjoyed our little walk along with us today, guys. It's been good to have you along.
Yeah, let us know what you think about the kind of vlog style videos where we talk about one little adventure or trip or whatever. We're trying it out this winter just to see if it's easier for us to make videos and keep in touch with you guys more, because I know that's something that some of you kind of want us to do. If it's just really cringy, let us know that too and we'll go back to just narrating.
Yeah, just say stop! Don't do it anymore! Yeah. No, but hopefully you guys have enjoyed it, and you know, I mean, it's difficult for us to create videos when we are back in the caravan just doing our day-to-day thing, because
our lives are pretty samey in the caravan. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It's just like if you lived in a house, only we live in a caravan. We still work and do chores and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's no.
I mean, if you guys want to see that, sure, I'll. You know.
Woo!
Here's me cutting the grass.
But we're not touring in the caravan at the minute, so it's just like a standard life. But what we do want to do is try and do a few more videos about kind of what living in a caravan has enabled us to do, and I guess travel is one of them. So I hope you guys enjoy this too.
Yeah, cool. All right, see you later. Bye.